And welcome everyone to this little drop-in session that AbilityNet has allowed us to have in kind of the context of TechShare Pro. So we're very excited about this. And I'm actually in London, so I'm in a small hotel room here. But the rest of us are spread out in different parts of Europe, I guess. And I have a little bit of background noise. I don't know where that is coming from, but maybe some of the technology people, and now it disappeared magically. Somebody is hearing what I'm saying. That's really good. So my name is Susanna Laurin. I am here today as the IAAP and G3ICT representative to the EU. And I'm also representing IAAP in all the panels that I'm in. So we've had very good discussions on internationalization and the professionalism and the needs for skills and so on. And we keep going also for tomorrow. So please join us for more interesting sessions in the big program. With me today, I have my dear colleague, Alberto Hylander, who is currently in Stockholm, I believe. I think I can recognize your background. And he's coordinating the IAAP EU initiative these days together with me. And he will make a short presentation about the organization if there would be somebody in the audience who don't know what IAAP is doing. So we will start off with a presentation. And then after myself and Alberto have told you everything that is so fantastic with this organization, we will hear from two members who can tell you the truth. So we have Beatriz and Radek from Spain and the Czech Republic, who are representing a big ICT company and a university. So different sectors also, which is also kind of reflecting how our membership look, or at least a little bit of how our membership looks. So, and we will have, the idea with these drop-in sessions is really that people who attend our webinars or read our newsletters or meet us in different meetups and so on, they have questions often about what does it mean to become a member? How much does it cost? What does it entail? What are the benefits and so on? So that is what therefore we have these drop-in sessions so that you can ask us questions. But as this is part of the TechShare Pro, we think that some of you may be very new to this topic and maybe you haven't followed us before. So therefore we want to start with a short presentation and then we open up for questions. So you can use the Q&A function in this Slido, which is called in here in Hopin, and we will do our best to respond to your questions in speaking after Alberto is finished with his little presentation. So now, Alberto, please.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you and welcome, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to share a little presentation here. I think you can see like that. Do you see the presentation? Susanna, maybe you can confirm.
I do not see the presentation, and also you have frozen for me.
Okay. Okay, well, maybe Lynn, can you help me with that? Oh, let's see here. Now
yes. We see something.
Good.
And now we see the presentation. Wow.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, as Susanna mentioned, this is a very short introduction of what IAAP is and the circumstances that led to the foundation of the association. So IAAP stands for the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. And we normally I normally start with this presentation with this picture. And these are a general question for everybody. And it's like, how many of you can sometimes feel alone in your role when working with accessibility questions? And this is actually quite true across Europe and across basically any country, that whether you're a writer, UX designer, developer, buyer, project manager, or whatever role you have, you can maybe feel lonely often in your role working with accessibility questions. And the truth is that during the past years, it's been difficult to procure expertise, because you don't really know who actually knows about accessibility. It's been difficult to recruit because you don't know the professionals who have actually the knowledge in accessibility. It's been difficult to train because you don't know the providers that are out there in the market that are certified, that they can prove they have the right competencies in accessibility. So at the end of the day, it's been difficult to determine who is right when it comes to accessibility. And the market, as you all know, it's been very fragmented. It's been few providers. They are normally small. Basically, they are not for profit and with very limited capacity. And in this arena, in this scenario, is where IAAP was founded. The mission of IAAP is to define, promote, and improve the accessibility profession globally, and by means of three major pillars, which are certification, education, and networking. So the IAAP was founded with the intention of helping each other. It's a community of world-leading experts, and we do our best to exchange our experiences in the community with the aim to raise the level of competence and in ultimate case to create a real profession by means of certifications, of course, and that therefore can increase accessibility across nations and regions. So IAAP was founded in March 2014, and you have here listed some of them, the founding members. And the big IT companies, they are accessibility experts, universities, and then you can see there are Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, Berkeley, and other European and international actors. When it comes to how IAAP is seen or distributed around the world, well, you see the different stars. I have to say that I'm really happy because yesterday I got a new member in Iceland. So then Iceland is now incorporated in this map. I'm very proud. We have more than 4,000 members, both in organizational corporations and individuals, different chapters. We have the UK chapter. We have also the German-speaking chapter, DACH, and then the Nordic chapter. And that's something I would like to emphasize here is the EU initiative, which is this umbrella that covers other European countries, and we provide services and activities for all the European countries too. And we can, of course, talk more about the European initiative, the EU initiative later on. When our members are really very different from different sectors, I can mention that the three major sectors are the IT, the government, and the education. But of course, we cover basically all a huge array of sectors. Why we should become, or you wish maybe, or you would like to become a member of IAAP. And it's because when it comes to coming back to the three pillars of IAAP, it was networking. Two of them, they were networking and education, and this actually we said the services that we provide to our members. Education in form of webinars, events and meetups, like this one. We offer a platform, a community, where we promote discussions. We can share experiences both globally and locally through the chapters that I mentioned before. We try to keep our members up to date when it comes to different news, legislation, especially here in Europe, that is now taking the lead when it comes to accessibility. So, so this is actually really, really valuable. And then discounts for the certification exams. And not least but not last today is the opportunity to influence, and with that we means that IAAP is a democratic member-based organization, and then is run by our members. So you, of course, have the opportunity to influence in the organization. The third pillar of IAAP is the professional certifications, and this is one of the major focus of IAAP. We offer different types of certifications. I would like to mention three of them. which are the maybe some of you already know, or maybe some of you are already certified. Beatriz and Radek, for example, they are both certified. We have the CPAC, which is the Certified Professional in Accessibility Core Competencies. We have the VAS, the Web Accessibility Specialist, and one more is the ADS, Accessible Document Specialist. By these three, or we have other certifications too, but basically I think this is the most relevant ones in this context. Certifications are globally recognized. By becoming a member, you have access to an open knowledge bank, where you have different resources to prepare and your exams. And then there is, by becoming a member, for example, you don't need to be a member to get certified, but members have some other benefits, like accessing or having the possibility to double check accredited training providers. Members also have the possibility to enroll free of charge to a Princeton University preparatory course for the CPAC. And these exams can be taken either online or on-site exams. And of course, and I think the major point of that is a proof of competence, of becoming of accessibility expert. So basically, in a nutshell, this is what IAP is, the membership benefits and the certification. So here you have my email address, hylander@accessibilityassociation.org. So I'm here for all your questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Alberto. I think just to clarify about membership and certifications, so the open body of knowledge that we call is the open knowledge base that is open to everyone. You do not have to be a member to reach that. That is free of charge open source material. And the accredited training providers are members of IAAP that provide training for preparation of the certifications. So, and that is also have nothing to do with the membership. You can either study yourself, or you can pay for a training provider that is accredited by IAAP, and that is open for everyone. If you become a member, you get a discount of the certification exam price, and also you get some additional free training resources, just to clarify that.
Thank
and
you,
we
Susanna.
had one question from the audience that is a question my business consultants has raised with me, is with whether IAAP qualification is universally recognized in the UK. Are there other UK awarding bodies? So the IAAP certifications are globally recognized. But if there are other UK awarding bodies, that I don't know, because I'm not an expert in what is existing in the UK. But let's hear from our members here. Radek, why did you become a member of IAAP? What's in it for you? And tell me a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your day job when you're not here.
Okay. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me here. As for my job, I work for Masaryk University. It's the second largest university in the Czech Republic. I work for the center for the supporting students with special needs as an accessibility specialist, project coordinator, and event manager. So if I'm not here, I am usually working on some stuff related to accessibility, some organizing some events, or do some consultancy and so on. So this is my, let's say, daily routine regarding my job tasks. And why I became member, there are many reasons. Alberto mentioned plenty of them, but probably the most important one, or the primary one, was to be a member of community. It means to find other people who are interested in accessibility, with whom you can share your ideas, your experience. You can learn something new from them, and so on. So I would say that this was my primary impulse to join IAAP.
Okay, and Beatriz, can you tell us a little bit about why you became a member and what you do in your day job? And then maybe you can answer one of the questions that we have got, what level of accessibility knowledge that we require, because this question is accessibility is part of my role. Can you comment on the level of preparation required? Because I know you have prepared for several of our certifications. So I think you know this, Bea.
Yes, I have. Officially, I have 4 certifications. So I have WAS, CPAC, and ADS. And having WAS and CPAC, you get the CPWA, Certified Web Professional for Web Accessibility. Hi, my name is Beatriz Gonzalez-Mellidez, also known as Bea or B. I work for Atos as Head of Accessibility and Digital Inclusion in Central Europe, a role that I got voluntold while working on a translating the IAAP exam questions for CPAC and WAS. So it was among this working group that I got told, go apply for this role. Before that, I never thought about having a full-time role in accessibility. I was working as a designer and as a front-end developer back then. And I joined IAAP as a private person because it was not so recognized by my company where I was working at back then. So I wanted to learn more about inclusive design, about accessibility, about disability. And I found there was a lot of resources, like there's a lot of pre-recorded webinars. I wanted to explore the possibility of the certification. The first years I didn't got certified because I was a bit scared about the 3 years renewal of the certification. I was thinking it would be a lot of money and I was doing everything privately. So I took a while until I got the courage to apply for the certification. To reply that question about what level of knowledge. So it depends on what you want to go for. So if you're an accessibility specialist, you would probably want to seek the WAS certification, the Web Accessibility Specialist, or the ADAs if you're working on accessibility for documents. For those you need experience, you're not allowed to do those exams just by learning and sitting them. You need to have proof that you have worked in the field. So there is some experience already involved. And of course, you can prepare. I learned a lot while preparing for the exams. You think you know a lot of things. And then when you prepare for a certification, you need to follow syllabus. Then you realize that there's some things that you had missed on your path, because at least in my age and my fields, there's many people who have grown into accessibility because there was no specific trainings for that. But on the other side, if you're just an HR person or you have nothing to do with a full accessibility role, you maybe are interested in accessibility from a project management perspective, or you're a designer and you want to learn more about how things work, then CPAC would be for you. You don't need any type of experience. You need to learn through the body of knowledge. You don't even need to pay any course or do anything. You just can follow the body of knowledge. There's links and there's information, and there's a lot of resources on the IAAP website that you can use for that. And there's some providers that provide courses that you can do like in a couple of days to get ready for the exam. The IAAP offers some EduNext. That's what I wrote also on the questions. You can ask for a free voucher to do the Princeton course that Susanna or Alberto mentioned before. And that would be the initial step. You'd get the CPAC, so you get the core competency certifications, and then you can build on that, depending also on your experience and what are your fields of focus in your daily work.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question specifically for on universities. So I think Radek can answer that. How does IAAP work with universities in the context of digital media design programs, for example?
Okay, for me, it's a matter of support and sharing knowledge. In case that you need to design a program regarding digital accessibility, as is in my case, so I use very often sources provided by IAAP for this, and maybe the next way or issue might be that we are also engaged in several projects projects which are focused on digital accessibility and on setting accessibility into curricula and so on. So this might be also a way where IAAP is a partner and can also support with its expertise and knowledge and so on. So that's what I would answer regarding this question.
Mm-hmm. And that's so. Thank you very much, Radek. That is entirely true and well. All of that. We have also been involved in research projects where we try to make sure that web accessibility becomes part of the curriculum at university studies. So I put a link to one of the projects that we have been participating in called IAAP. Including web accessibility in the curricula with a number of different universities across Europe. So there's some resources there, and we are always interested in reaching out to universities, all our members, of course, but we have many very active universities, and I think the knowledge sharing and experiences and expertise among universities is also a very important part of what IAAP can support with. And we're also always interested in new projects and talking about this. And I just yesterday here in London, I was discussing with different players on trying to again make sure that we train, not we IAAP, but we society train the next generation of designers and developers and project managers and content providers and UXers and so on, because it's kind of stupid that we keep having people in university that learn a lot like web professionals, but the vast majority of them still miss out on accessibility, and we need to do something as a community. We need to do something about that. So it's a good question, and I know IAAP is kind of committed to do as much as we can to help that. So another question here is, what are the advantages of membership for a company which is an accessibility specialist provider as opposed to an organization that want to improve their accessibility?
I wanted to give also an answer from the IAAP DACH. So we also have a working group that works in Barrierefreiheit in der Bildung, so in higher education. So they're working on establishing the accessibility knowledge in different, not just in accessibility specialist majors or minors, but also in some other disciplines. So there's some working groups already collaborating, thanks to the IAAP DACH chapter for the Germany, Switzerland, and Austria region. So if somebody wants to collaborate, and they're very welcome to join those groups.
Thank you, Beatriz. So that was a good addition, and that's also true for the Nordic chapters, so Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, and now Iceland. We have also done quite a few university-specific events and so on. So there's also ways to collaborate with universities in that part of the world. But back to the question: the advantages of a membership for a company which is an accessibility specialist provider, as opposed to, or I guess in combination with, an organization that want to improve their accessibility. Does anyone want to say something about that? How can we provide good benefits for both of these sectors?
So I think if your company is a specific specialist on accessibility, then the biggest benefit you have are the discounts and the learning resources for the certifications. So I'm seeing now, we got a tender last week for the German government, and they already mentioned the IAAP. So that is something that is moving forward, and it's going to be able to differentiate you from your competitors at first, and then if you don't have it, you're going to be the only one left out at the end if we follow that trend. It also provides you with some other resources depending on the level of your membership as a company that you have. So I think at Atos we're right now silver. We're working to go to I think it's a diamond or platinum. Platinum. Thank you. Sorry. So all those tier.
I'm happy to create a diamond for you. That's not a problem. We just need another level.
Let's go for it. No, we see the value. So the thing is, like for example, with the platinum membership, you can let everyone in your company join for the same fee. So they will have access to the resources. They will have access to the network. You can also, you could also use it for sales if you're cheeky enough and know how to move around in such circumstances, because you have access to a network of experts and people who are looking also to learn. So it can be different approaches that you could use as a company. You can also be involved in different events that the organization is doing and different initiatives and put it as a unique selling proposition for your company compare with your competitors.
So yeah, that's really good. And I think what we see is that companies who are a little bit new to this, they use a lot of what we call the connections, so the networking platform, the forum, because you can really ask questions and get questions from all over the world and all the experts that are involved. And you know that they know what they're talking about, because some people say, oh, I can just ask anywhere on Twitter or whatever. And that's true. There are many places where you can get accessibility advice, but then you don't know who you get the advice from. And really, we still have a problem in this still rather immature industry that anyone can raise their hand and say, I'm an accessibility expert, and you have no clue what they actually know about. So what we try is to build a community where we raise the knowledge of everyone. Everyone is welcome. If you're a beginner, absolutely come on, and we'll help you and take care of you and share our experiences so that we make sure that the next generation is also on board with accessibility. So I think that is very, very useful for kind of newbies in the industry to get the connections and, of course, the webinars and the training resources and so on, but also just connecting to the wider community and the global leadership that is in the IAAP. And for us, me being, if I use my other hat and talk from the Funka perspective, we are accessibility specialists providing this knowledge. And of course, we want to keep all our staff certified and keep them certified. They have other reasons to stay on top of things, but it's really good to have kind of a checkpoint where you say, okay, now I need I take my certification, and then I need to keep up to date with things, even if other tasks maybe become important in your working role or something. You still need to stay on top and be on the forefront of that. So for an accessibility expert company, I think it should be self-evident. You just need to have this. It's a kind of a hygiene factor. But if you are a generalist ICT company or a bank or a university or whatever, you may have smaller groups that need to have really all of the certifications and follow this closely. But as Beatriz said, the other members of the team, the project managers that do other things, but also accessibility, they get this fantastic opportunity to also jump in on webinars, look into archives, get the resources and talk to people. So really, for organizations, the pricing is based on the number of active members. So you can start small and then increase up to your platinum or even maybe a diamond, specific for a Beatriz diamond. So Alberto, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, that was actually what I wanted to say. For a company that's already working in the accessibility field, I would say that the community, the connections, the platform that the website actually allows you to the possibility to interact globally with other professionals working with the very same questions. Sometimes you don't need to redefine or to invent the wheel for again. It's just getting in connection with other specialists and solving and getting answers for the very same questions. With that said, I think another good benefit of becoming a member, and once you are certified and you want to keep your certification, is the possibility of gaining credits. As we mentioned before, these certifications are valid for 3 years. After the 3 years, depending on the level of certifications, you have the possibility to gain these credits to maintain the certification. One of the means is, well, there are different ways of maintaining that, but the certification, but it's just attending or being active on learning more about accessibility, and the platform gives you a very good array of webinars that you can attend and gain these credits.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. We have another question, and that is if we can recommend UK training providers for IAAP certification. And I am actually not sure if AbilityNet is providing prep courses. I do not think so, but maybe Alberto, you can check that.
Absolutely.
What I know is that the accredited training providers that are accredited to provide preparation courses for the certifications, They are listed on the website, and I'm sure Alberto can find the link. And many of them also provide training in English, so online and maybe on site as well. So I don't think it's a problem for UK-based individuals. If English is your native language, I think there will be plenty of training opportunities. This doesn't mean that other training providers are not good. It's just that we accreditate those who provide training that is specifically preparing for the exams, and those are the ones that we can kind of stand behind and say they are accredited in the kind of the IAAP ecosystem or whatever, because they have the trainers are certified themselves, and they have one way or another been active in creating the certifications. But there are of course many other ways of gaining accessibility knowledge to prepare for an exam. You can read up on the body of knowledge, everything free sources and so on, and then attend pre or paid for training from other providers. It's just that then that may not cover exactly all the chapters and pieces that is required in the exam. So that is why we tend to recommend the accredited training providers, just because we know that they will actually prepare you in a good way for the exam. But again, it's also possible to study if you have the experience of working with accessibility and you prefer to study on your own. There is not a requirement. We are not pushing you into the market. We are not kind of requiring anyone to pay for commercial training. You're absolutely fine if you think you prefer to read up on it on your own. That's absolutely fine. Yes, so another question is, as it is a member organization, are there opportunities to network and connect and direct message other members? And I think we already touched on that with the connections. So yes, of course, we do have meetups and networking opportunities kind of in the local communities more and also at EU level and so on. And we definitely have a lot of interaction in committees and member and groups and so on, and through the forum, the digital forum that we have. And I wanted to say a little bit about the chapters. So now we are, I guess, mostly talking to a UK audience here. So the language is less of an issue, but in many of our other regions and countries where we are active, we have a language issue, because much of not only what IAAP provides, but also what is out there generally is often in English or maybe in Spanish or German, but really in the big languages and most of it in English, most of the free sources and training. So we do a lot of work in translating into the local languages, and that is also part of why we have those local and regional chapters, to make sure that not only do we provide the global view of this and the kind of elite of international experts, but you can also talk about specific issues or challenges that you have in your region or your country or your sector with people that are closer to home, so to speak. And that is also why we have this EU initiative, because we now in the EU have harmonized standards and the same legislation. So many of the things that we are doing is really applicable to all members in the EU, and not all member states have a chapter of their own, sometimes because the country is very small or because the membership is not big enough to sustain a chapter. So maybe Beatriz, do you want to say something about the DACH chapter, a little bit of how you work and what kind of the extra benefit is to be in a chapter of IAAP?
So the first benefit we have of being in the DACH chapter is that you get access to do the exams in your preferred language. So you can choose if you want to do it in English or in German. For example, I live in Germany, 13 years already, but I would still do the exam in English because it would be easier for me. But you get the choice. If you're a native speaker of German, you would be able to do right now CPAC and WAS in German. We did together the translations, and during the pilot phase of this type of exams, there's also discounts. So you can get the exam at a reduced price, because we're testing how the translation went, if it works well or not. And people also got like a second try for free in case they didn't make it. So that is something specific for the chapters that you don't get it in the global, because in the global it's already tested and established. What we're doing right now, we have several working groups. One of them is for communications. We have another one for networking. So we're trying to get a picture, for example, of what are all the initiatives that relate to accessibility in these countries. So we're trying to find out how many accessibility competence centers the German government has, or how many universities are working on accessibility, or we're trying to get a picture of how it is in these countries, because some of those things are very local. And you get to exchange. So there's, for example, we have in Germany, there are specific laws. In Switzerland and in Austria, you have specific laws and different interpretations. And that is something you could, of course, get from the connections, like Susanna mentioned before. Even I work in a global company with different people working in different regions. You cannot know all the legislation, all the laws, and all the norms of each region. So you can also network with other people. In the local chapters, you get a closer community. So it's a different type of conversation, the one you get.
Okay, and Radek, from the Czech Republic, you do not have a chapter yet. I know we are kind of trying to establish one. It takes time, but how do you see the kind of the level of the EU? Does it support you in any way, or how do you feel being not in a chapter? How does it work to be a kind of a member that without a chapter?
Do you mean IAAP EU? You mean you
yes.
and Alberto?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to tell you what to say, but I mean, how do you see the different levels of organization and so on? How does it work for you, or is it really a problem that you don't have a chapter in the Czech Republic?
No, as you know, we'd like to have a chapter to establish, let's say, a stronger community of individuals and companies in my region. Also, due to the language barrier, we need information and materials and events in Czech or in Slovak, and that's why we use the opportunity to interpret or translate many events you organize on a EU level, let's say, to Czech language, or to provide at least subtitles. So in general, I would say that the support for me is simply perfect, and the collaboration is well for me, or goes well. And for me, it's really important to have a strong partner on EU level, since it also, let's say, increase our credibility to potential subjects in my region, in case that, as for example, last week you and Alberto attended one of our, let's say, big conferences, online conferences, and there were so many questions and so huge interest in accessibility in general, that we even had to schedule one more event for December. So that's for me, that's
it's a good sign that the EU level is needed.
Yeah, and how to say, like a very visible proof that things work, and the collaboration is at it should be.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Radek. And really, I think next week we're doing also a specific webinar for the German-speaking chapter in German. So there I will speak German if I still remember how to do that. So in the Czech Republic we didn't speak Czech. We had a fantastic translator, but in the areas where we do have knowledge on board, I think we can kind of provide services in at least 7 languages. So in next week we will do a kind of an EU level webinar with the German-speaking members to make sure that they feel that they get also kind of benefits at the EU level. Because what we hear sometimes is that because this was started with some of the really big technology providers from the US, that is kind of leaning towards the US, and that is what we're trying to kind of mitigate with the EU initiative. So we have specific questions for Beatriz. Can you please tell us the certification path again? Being an IT professional, I want to correct the correct path. So no, you have the truth here, Beatriz, that you, yeah, it's one way.
So there is no correct path. So if you do documents, you would be able to do documents. If you're an IT specialist and you have experience in accessibility, you can choose whether you want to sit CPAC first or WAS first, the one you feel more comfortable. Like if you're working in accessibility testing or developing for accessibility, maybe you feel more comfortable with WAS because it's more technical. And the CPAC is more about legislation, disability, assistive technology. So maybe you would have to prepare more, even though WAS has a lot more content. If you do it every day, it could be easier for you to do. So there is no guided path. It's open to your needs, and you can review and see how you feel more comfortable and how would you find achieve the best results.
Yes, that is true. You can do it in any order you'd like. But when we created the CPAC, the core competencies, our idea was that would be the basic certification that kind of everyone starts with, and then you build on to other things. But it's absolutely true, as Beatriz says, if you have been doing testing with automatic or assistive technology, and you're really, really a tech person, you have a developer, and you have only been working in one country or in one legal environment, then the CPAC will actually probably be more difficult because you would need to learn more about ADA and many different ways of approaching and the social model and so on. So that is a much more kind of broad policy-oriented certification. So it's absolutely open to anyone to start anywhere they like. But I believe most people start with CPAC, and that is also where we have most numbers, because that is kind of suitable for many different kinds of professions. So even if you don't work with accessibility hands-on every day, you can still really benefit from having the CPAC. But we don't require one order or the other.
I know on the other side, I know a lot of developers who are only WAS certified because it's the technical part.
Yeah.
So.
If I can just
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, just to confirm what you said, and it was also my way. I have been active in an accessibility field for almost 25 years now. So my, let's say, professional background or experience is based mostly on practice, but book of knowledge and other materials was very useful for me, like to get oriented what is expected for the exam itself. So yeah. I can just confirm this. That this way probably leads to the target or to the expected target.
Yes, and we still are planning for more certifications. Of course, I personally would like to see an accessibility in graphical design and accessibility in UX and accessibility in procurement. So there's a long list of certifications that we would like to create, but as this is internationally recognized and done with this center of excellence internationally, it takes time. It takes a long time. We need to do very many different phases. We need to know that there's a market for this, and we have to have the correct number of subject matter experts and so on, and then we need to do testing procedures. So it seems like an easy thing to do. I wasn't really into certification before I started this task with the IAAP. But it's really, really interesting, but it does take time and it costs quite a lot of money. So we need to do one thing at the time. And now we have released the document specialist. I think that is a big step. And I'm still waiting for that to be a great success in the EU, because we have billions of inaccessible PDFs that somebody needs to take care of. So I really hope that people will start being certified in documents. So we got a question here if there is any contact which I can dial in to get more detail. I don't know, Alberto, if you would like to share your phone number in the chat. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right away.
So if you are somewhere outside of EU, please make sure you don't wake up Alberto in the middle of the night. He's in Central European time, but I'm sure he's happy to chat with you. Or you can also share your email address in the chat, I think. So we get that again. You showed it, but we can. It's always good to repeat. And then
if you're a bit if you're a bit shy, I posted in the Slido a link to the drop-in session. So there's like every Wednesday, I don't know if I put it there. There's a drop-in sessions where you can join a general session about certifications from the States.
That's the global. Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the global one. So that is run by the US certification team. But there's also a we also have specific drop-in from the EU. So I think Alberto can also provide links to the next drop-in sessions that we do. But if you have
I learned something
this drop-in session, then yeah. So and next question is, can you speak any more about what is required for different membership levels? For Platinum, do a certain number of percentage of staff need to be certified? So Alberto, can you speak to that if you are not typing at the same time?
I was just typing, but I just send the information. Yeah, absolutely. Basically, the different levels depends on the number of seats, on the number of people or colleagues that we would like to become members or to have access to the platform. So that there is no number of certified people in order to get a different levels. No, it's just the number of seats that we would like to have, or how many people they would have access to the platform. So starting with 6 people, which is the associate level, and then we go to the standard with 20, 40, and then and so on. So that is actually what differs from one level to another.
That is partly true. There's also you also get when for the bigger organizations, or when you have more members, you also get some additional benefits. So that's it. But that is really well, I think, discussed in there's a lot of details, so it's easier to see on the website. But really, the essence is, how many of your staff would you like to be actively involved in and get the benefits? That is really the question. And only when you reach Platinum, it's for everyone in the organization. So that is unlimited. But otherwise, it's the number of people who are active in the organization when it comes to benefits and so on.
Yeah. Then, if I can add something, then depending on the level, I mean, for the higher Platinum or Gold, then there is vouchers for certifications. Then there is possibility of being sponsored in different organizations, but there are different extra benefits that you can get depending on the level. But for example, the discount for the certifications is $100 except for the Platinum is 110, but otherwise all of them get this discount for the certifications and for the live webinars too.
So another question for Beatriz. How long did it take you to get certified to the level you are currently at? Also, how do you maintain certification? Do you have to retake exams?
So I am still in the first round of certification. I think mine expire next year because I took them in 2020 during COVID lockdown. I actually kind of didn't read the manual. And I didn't prepare for CPAC. I only prepared for WAS. So I got an external provider trainings and I went through all the stuff because I was working as a designer and not anymore as a developer. I worked as a developer before. And I had to refresh all the parts related to area and some JavaScript and some other things that were part of the body of knowledge. So I wanted to do a refresh, and I guess Radek can tell more about it. But I only prepared for WAS, and I realized the day before the exam that it was completely different. I understood there was CPAC as a basis and then WAS as an extended, because I didn't read the manual. It's not something that I usually do. So I got surprised, and I just went and surfed the web to find about universal design for learning, because that was something new for me. I reread all the laws, legislation. I basically compare which went before and which went after, because I cannot memorize all those dates. So, and I had above average in both exams. For WAS, I prepared, I think it was like 4 months, but I had a full-time job and a 9-month-old, 1 year and a half baby. So that I can tell you, depending on what is your situation, it can take longer or less.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. And Radek, can you say something about your, maybe how did you prepare, or how long did it take, or how difficult is it?
Yeah, maybe my experience might be, let's say, a little bit different, since, as I said, I have been active in this field for 25 years. So there were like many many things happened before I even know that IAAP is here or it was established. But what might be, let's say, more relevant is an experience of my colleague Andrzej, who is the second certified person in my country, and he presented his way at our conference last week. And if I remember well, it took him about 3 years to prepare for the certification, with studying all materials and book of knowledge and WCAG and all other related materials. So I guess that he mentioned 3 years of preparations, and his professional background was or is UX designer. So he had some competence in design and in web development and stuff like this.
Okay, very good. So anything else you would like to tell potential members? Any kind of specific good things, or something you learned? Yeah, Beatriz?
I just remember about the UK question. So we have, I think, a 20-30 people accessibility team in the UK, and all of them are IAAP certified around the way of becoming certified. The other option that I know in the UK, they have a accessibility specialist apprenticeship. I think it's a level 4, if I'm not mistaken. And at the end, it finishes with the IAAP certification. That's some of my Atos colleagues participated in the apprenticeship, and they decided, instead of reinventing the wheel and creating exams that at the end would be only for the UK, they would go for the international recognition.
Okay. Good. And I see we have a question also about the number of people certified at different levels. And I'm sorry, I should know this by heart, but I don't. I tried to find the information, and now I don't know if we lost Alberto. But I can get back to you with that number now, Alberto.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes.
I can tell you how many ADS are. It's 111. That's me.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah. So yeah, but that is the latest
Newest
in the family, so to speak. So that is newly released. So, but the number of certified people, I am sorry, but I can't find that.
I'm trying
right
to
now.
get a hold of the number. I have the number for Europe. Worldwide, it's gonna take me some more minutes. But maybe we can get back to that later.
But if you can please send an email to Alberto to the email address that he has shared with you, but I don't see it in the Q&A, so I don't know where you shared it, but I hope you shared it somewhere. Then we'll be happy to provide that. It's not secret. It's just that I just don't find the resource right now. And I think also at the map that Alberto was showing, he said 4,500 plus members. I think the correct number now is over 5,000, because in the Global Leadership Council meeting that I attended a while ago, the number was over 5,000 members. So that I think is the correct number right now. Yes, another question for Beatriz, just here, the ending stretch. Can you provide more information about the Atos apprenticeship program?
Oh, it's not an Atos apprenticeship program. It's a British standard. We just collaborated. So my colleague Mark and my boss Neil, they were part of the apprenticeship committee that released it. It's an official standard in the UK. So Mark was our first apprenticeship. There was no apprenticeship in at the time. So he started an IT apprenticeship, and then they were developing, as he was advancing in Atos, they were developing together this apprenticeship. And it's an official British standard. And I'm trying to do something like that in Germany, and my colleagues in Spain and France are trying to do the same too, because there's a lot of initiative at university level, like Radek mentioned before. But some people with disabilities, they don't make it to university, or to what in German is called the Fachhochschule, like a technical university. So they stay in lower levels of education, and they are, at the end of the day, they are the experts in assistive technology because they use it every day. So this type of apprenticeships and Ausbildung in German, they would offer a new profession for them where they can thrive. That would be the idea of this type of initiatives. And in Germany, the idea would be the same. Instead of reinventing the wheel and do a special exam that you have to invest a lot of money in, like Susanna mentioned, these type of certifications are very time and money consuming. We can reuse what's already there, and it's not just recognized in your country, but internationally if you want to move abroad or something.
Okay, so I think we are moving towards the end. So I will let each of our panelists or members today say something about their kind of the clue they have left to the end here. But I just wanted to say that really, I think it's very rewarding. I've been with IAAP from the start, so I'm one of the co-founders really, and it's so really nice to see the community growing and everything we are. I mean, we still have a long way to go before we have enough boots on the ground and enough resources and enough accessibility experts everywhere. But I really think that when professionals working in the accessibility field can prove their level of competence and that we support each other and share experience, I think that is when this whole thing can move forward and we can potentially achieve a more inclusive society by doing this. But to me, I really see from the EU perspective, we see more and more mentioning and requirements of IAAP certification in both recruitment advertising and even more in procurement. So I really think we're moving towards a professionalization of the accessibility community, which I think is really, really good for people with disabilities and for society at large and for the industry. Radek, what is your final words? What is the key message you want to send to these people who are listening to us and may become members in the future?
Okay, I will be maybe a bit personal, but I think that it's also important to collaborate with nice people. And for me, collaborating with IAAP EU or IAAP in general is a pleasure. Since collaboration with you and Alberto and colleagues from IAAP from the United States and also with many members of IAAP is something what I really love, and that's one of the reasons why I am still member and why I am active and do my best in the accessibility field. So this is my key message, that it's also about, let's say, a personal level of collaboration.
Okay, become a member if you need more friends. Beatriz, you have 30 seconds to say something really good.
Oh God, luckily I can speak very fast. So the main thing for me is the open ears. If you have something you don't like, you have Alberto, you have Susanna, you have the whole community of the IAAP with open ears. We have some colleagues who have autism and they're having struggles to go through the process of the exam, and we're sending feedback. So that is what I like the most, that you have people who are willing to collaborate and you can be part of it.
Very good and fast. So I let Alberto end the session. If you have frozen for me, but I hope you're still there.
Well, I'm still here. Hopefully not frozen for the rest of the audience. But I just want to say thank you so much for the time, for your questions. I'm here for any question that you would like to have. We can book a separate meeting. We can go through the different type of certifications, the different type of memberships, very informal. And yeah, I'm here as a resource. So just please don't hesitate to contact me, to reach out.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you to the interpreters. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you Radek and Bea for being with us again and sharing your knowledge and experience. I think it's so much more valuable that people hear from the members than hearing from us. So that's really good. Thank you again, and thanks for having us on this panel. And with that, I think we will close this session, Lynn. Yes, we will close. So enjoy the rest of TechShare Pro, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to speak more about IAAP. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.